It's a bit new for us today. We're having an online open day. I've never had this before, but I ask you to be forgiving with any mistakes we make. I've been the headmaster here for 18 years. I started in 2003, transferring up from Melbourne with schools of Scotch College and Camberwell Grammar, both very famous all-boys schools. But for you, sadly for me, I'm going to be largely irrelevant to you and to your son. And the reason for that is that I retire at the end of this year. So I'm almost saying goodbye to you before you even start. But the new headmaster, Dr. John Kinniburgh, is a specialist in boys' education. He's attended some wonderful schools. He's currently the Deputy Headmaster of Prince Alfred College, one of Adelaide's finest all-boys schools. He's got a superb background in boys' education, having also worked at Australia's oldest all-boys school, and that's King's School in Sydney. Academically incredibly well qualified, Dr. Kinniburgh's got a PhD in education, and he graduated from the University of Oxford with a master's degree in science. We're very much looking forward to welcoming Dr. Kinniburgh, his wife and 3 children to commence in January 1 next year. But back to Toowoomba Grammar School at the moment. Whilst this is online, we're very much missing the boys. We need the vitality of the boys. Everything we do at this school is centred around the boys. Our curriculum, our teaching practices, our sporting participation, the cultural program, and we just love having them. We love the vitality, the vibrancy, the inquisitiveness of the boys, their competitive nature, everything about them. It just makes the school come alive, but you won't see that part of the school today. The other aspect of the school, we're certainly well advanced with this online education, and you'll see part of that today. Again, sadly for us, not our fault, but we certainly want the boys in the classroom, but under the current circumstances, online teaching. But I do commend the teaching staff. They've done a wonderful job. We feel that we're very advanced in this. We predicted what had to happen. Our technology is superb. The boys have got the resources. The teachers have got the professional skills and the capacity. And I think we've done particularly well. But at the same time, it doesn't replicate or come close to having the boys with us face to face. I wish you all well. I hope you enjoy the online experience, but at some stage later, God willing, we want you to come back to the school face to face, meet with us all, and let us proudly show you Toowoomba Grammar School. I'm going to pause now, introduce you to Mr. Mark Oliphant. And Mark is the head of the senior school. He's been with us a number of years now, knows boys' schools particularly well, and he will take you through our virtual tour. All the very best to you and your family. All, thank you very much.
Thank you, Headmaster.
And welcome to Toowoomba Grammar School. I'm just adding my technology to my ears so that I can hear you as we walk around this morning. Just a couple of notes in relation to technology. If you do have any questions along the way, you are more than welcome to ask. I would just ask that you turn your microphones on your computers off for now. And then when I do invite questions, if you have one, turn your microphone on and feel free to ask your question. So if I could get you to turn your microphones off while we're doing the tour, that'd be wonderful. Also, we're pretty confident we've got the technology down pat to run this tour today. However, if there are any technical issues, you'll receive an email from the school almost immediately, just letting you know what's going on and what we're going to do from that point. We're going to start with a walk around the school, so feel free to follow me. We're leaving this wonderful old building, old hall here at Toowoomba Grammar School. Lots of history up on the walls with our sports captains, our prefects, our senior leaders of the school, and we're going to head out to the front of the school. We're fortunate to have a vast campus here at Toowoomba Grammar School. On it, we have 5 full-sized ovals for the cricketers, a number of turf nets for the soccer players and the rugby players, full-size ovals that are typically well used throughout the year. The school was established in 1875, and Currently, our enrolment numbers are around the 1,200 mark across the entire school. What that looks like in terms of breakdown of numbers is we are about 930 boys in the senior school, of which approximately 280 of those senior school boys, so that's boys in years 7 through to 12, about 280 are boarders. And I know that our Director of Boarding, Mr. Jim Noble, will be online at 11 a.m. this morning for a follow-up tour for those families that are interested in boarding. You can see behind me at the moment, we've got our beautiful Old Boys Memorial Oval. Typically, at this time of year, we would see plenty of boys on the oval and the tennis courts in the background playing football and playing tennis. Usually for boys involved in sport, it'll be 2 afternoons a week of training and then Saturday fixtures, either here at Toowoomba Grammar School or against some of our competitor schools down in Brisbane or on the coast. We'll keep walking. In the background here, our lovely schoolhouse. As I said, foundation stone laid in 1875. So in a few years' time, we'll be celebrating the school's sesquicentenary. Schoolhouse used to house a number of boarders, and now it's largely offices. It was the original school building, so all offices, all boarders, and all classes occurred in schoolhouse. A lovely autumn morning here at Toowoomba Grammar School. As the headmaster mentioned, it is a shame that we don't have a school full of boys at the moment. I just hope that you'll be impressed with what we've done in our online learning environments. The school has a rich tradition, and we're very proud of our rich tradition. As we're walking along here, and we're going to walk up to our science block, and we might see some teaching happening in science. But as we're walking to science, we're walking past our Old Boys Wall of Achievement. Our Old Boys Wall of Achievement has the names and achievements of many of our most successful old boys here at the school, from culture and performing arts through to successful sportsmen, successful businessmen, politicians, and those involved in the Australian Defence Forces. We're heading into our Heenan Science laboratories at the moment. As we head upstairs, especially for the families that aren't familiar with the location of Toowoomba Grammar School, I'll be able to give you an idea of where Toowoomba Grammar School sits, and we'll walk past some classrooms on the way. She'll be most embarrassed to hear, but one of our lovely laboratory technicians is following me up the stairs at the moment. I am a science teacher here at Toowoomba Grammar School, as well as being the head of the senior school. And we're so fortunate to have such wonderful staff, such excellent facilities. Our science rooms are usually a hive of activities with experiments that are going on, and they're all made possible by our laboratory assistants. Come in, we've got a classroom here, and we've got one of our senior chemistry teachers, Mrs. Miller, preparing for a year 7 lesson in the background. We're just going to pop our heads into the classroom so you get a bit of a feel for what one of our classrooms looks like. Good morning, Mrs. Miller. How are you? You'll see in the background here a number of specimens on display. Again, Mrs. Miller, I know she's preparing for a year 7 lesson, and that lesson will involve referring to a lot of these specimens because it is a biology unit. Mrs. Miller is also, as I mentioned, a senior chemistry teacher. We'll let her get ready for her lesson. More on our online lessons in a little while. Often one of the questions that parents do ask of us is, what are the typical class sizes at Toowoomba Grammar School? I know that Mrs. Miller's year 7 science class that she's about to teach is 25 boys. My year 7 science class is 20 boys. So typically slightly larger in those younger senior years. And then Mrs. Miller's senior chemistry classes would be around that 15 mark. And that depends on the subject, chemistry obviously being quite a difficult subject, and we don't have a huge number of boys doing chemistry, but the ones that are doing it really enjoy the subject, and we make sure that they're nice small classes so that boys are able to maximise their potential. You can see behind me on the camera the rest of Toowoomba, and hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea of where Toowoomba Grammar School is located. So down behind me is the CBD of Toowoomba. We're about 2 kilometres to the east of the CBD, and then if you continue up Margaret Street, you hit the edge of the range. We're going to keep moving. As I mentioned before, we are fortunate to have quite a vast campus, and that often means that for our youngest boys or our newest boys, they can get lost. Our teachers are aware of that when they do start at the school, and are most understanding. It generally takes the boys about 2 weeks to learn their way around, and as we come up here, we're going to go into one of our other teaching blocks, one of our general learning areas. You'll note as we walk up here, you'll see a whole range of blue lockers. And the boys, when they come to the school during the day, their phone and all their equipment for the day goes into their lockers, and they just take what they need off to class. While I'm talking about lockers, the way we set up the school is, and the way we make our quite a big school with 930 boys in the senior school feel smaller, is we have a house system. So we have 5 houses at Toowoomba Grammar School, and within each house we have day boys and boarders, and the people that look after the boys pastorally in those houses are called our heads of house. So we have a head of day house and a head of the boarding houses. Now when you see the lockers behind me now and lockers in this area, there is a head of house office. Stephen's house head of house is located in this area, and that enables him to see the boys on a daily basis as they move in and out of areas. Boarders, it's a slightly different setup. They still have lockers up here, but of course they've got the advantage of being so close to their home here on campus in their boarding houses. We're going to head in a moment into Robert's block, which is one of our general learning areas, and you'll see that it's quite a modern facility on the inside. The reason for that is very important. It's schools and Toowoomba Grammar School have a responsibility to prepare our young people for their futures. And in doing that, we know that workplaces are changing. The shapes of workplaces, the way technology is used in workplaces are changing. Look at, for example, at the moment, all the people that are able to work from home. Even from for our boarding families that might be involved in grazing or cropping, how technology has influenced the improvements in agriculture in recent years. So as we walk into these rooms, you'll notice a few things. One, the spaces are more collaborative. The furniture is flexible. Boys can write on whiteboards on all the walls and on the glass surfaces. We have smart TVs that teachers can connect their laptops to. And really engage the boys with their learning. Come inside. So we do have a couple of teachers teaching live here, and you can see behind me one of our PE teachers, Mr. Chris McLeod, who would have just finished a PE lesson. He's got his mat out on the floor, and he's been doing some calisthenics with the boys. Mr. McLeod also teaches geography. Speaking of geography, we've got Mr. Andrew McKinnon, who's teaching live online at the moment. He's using his computer, which is a touchscreen computer, so he can annotate notes live. He's speaking to the boys live, and he's got some geography work on in the background.
Five systems that come off that drainage system. That's the great range here that we see. So this system here, any rainfall that occurs towards the eastern side of that system is known as the northeast coastal system, and that flows where the Pacific Ocean was. The western bleeding into the west.
our bell going in the background there with Mr. McKinnon starting the lesson a minute early. He possibly heard us coming. Parents, I'll just use Mr. McLeod and Mr. McKinnon as two examples. Mr. Chris McLeod, PE teacher, geography teacher, but also head of Macintosh boarding house. So about 50 boarders in Macintosh house from years 8 to 12. Mr. Andrew McKinnon, who just started his geography lesson with the map up on the smart screen, he is our Macintosh day head of house. So in charge of all the boys in Macintosh day house, and those houses come together so that our boarders integrate well. At this point in time, I'm just going to pause and ask if there's any questions that would like to come through.
How are the students, like the young year seveners, being mentored by maybe the seniors?
A number of ways. So what the boys have every day is they have some pastoral care time, and that's in small groups of boys roughly 12 to 15. Sometimes it's horizontal, so it's the boys from their house in their year level that are working with a mentor, and that mentor is a teacher here at school, and they work through a range of pastoral topics. So that's from year 7, it's about making good peer friendships, peer relationships, right through to our boys who are moving through their maturity journey and the different challenges that they face, right through to our year 12s who are talking about their post-school options. So that's done in what we call pastoral care groups, and it's done with a mentor. The mentors, again, are assigned to that same house that the boys are. We also have a vertical system, so the boys are interacting with others in different year levels. Our house system is not only a pastoral system, but it's also the school inter-house sporting system. So we've got a variety of activities that the boys all come together and do vertically as, say, Macintosh House, where they would be involved in swimming carnivals, track and field. We have inter-house Rubik's Cube competitions at lunchtimes and spelling competitions. A variety of things that the boys can get involved in through the house. They also do leadership programs and also their service programs through their houses with their housemasters. So plenty of explicit work done there, but also plenty of opportunity for the boys to get involved. Might keep moving. Okay, so we're moving into our Henderson Art and Drama building this morning. And we'll come around and you can see some examples of student artwork in the background. One of the wonderful things about working at a boys' school is we can really tailor our program to things that interest boys, and you can see examples of that in the background here with boys' artworks, characters that have influenced their lives, things that boys are interested in, like Lego and photographing Lego, and the way that they draw and create is really exceptional. In a moment, we're going to go upstairs and talk to our senior prefect or our school captain, Ronan Austin. And Ronan he'll talk about his subjects, but one of the subjects that he does do is drama. Fantastic subject. And because boys aren't inhibited by feeling worried about how they perform in front of girls, we actually have a good uptake of boys getting involved in the performing arts here, which is wonderful. So year 9 is the first year that boys can select drama as an elective subject. And typically in a year level, we'd have about 150 boys and we get roughly 50 boys select to do drama, which I think is a wonderful reflection of the culture of our school. Let's go upstairs and meet Ronan. I'm going to move inside here. I think I can maybe hear Ronan down here in one of our drama rooms. Morning, Ronan. Ronan, do you want to come outside and we'll have a chat? So Ronan is currently online in his senior drama class, and I'm going to take my headphones out. So if there are any questions at the moment, I won't be able to hear them, and I'm going to ask Ronan a question. So morning, Ronan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
My question for you, Ronan, is tell the mums and dads and the boys that are watching online at the moment about the subjects that you study.
Yep.
All of your co-curricular activities, and then specifically we want to hear about Tigger and your work as captain of Tigger and what Tigger is.
Awesome. So my subjects, drama, obviously, English, maths methods, ancient history, biology and psychology. So those are 6 subjects I'm studying. In terms of co-curricular, TIGA, as Mr. Oliphant mentioned, so it's every Monday night, 6 till 8. Rugby squad as well, so trained for rugby. Played volleyball in term 1. That's always great fun. Last year, hopefully this year as well, if we can get it up and running, our white ribbon committee. A bit different this year, but I have been involved in that previously. For senior TIGA this year, we're doing a contemporary understanding of Romeo and Juliet. So obviously with the social isolation, there are a lot of things we can draw on to sort of bring Shakespeare's Elizabethan work into a more modern understanding. So I was just talking to Miss Blakey about using the idea of Romeo and Juliet being separated through their social isolation, being forced apart by current social restrictions. So we're hopefully do once we can all come back and get everyone together and rehearse and put together a Romeo and Juliet piece for end of year performance.
You stopped before, because that's a different thought. He's talked about love, and then he's gone, where should we dine? And he's looked around and he's realised there's been a big fight there, and he's been so blinded by his situation, he hasn't actually seen what's happened, okay? So can you do that line again? Just do that line again. Alas, there's none.
Alas, the love is due still, without ice, trust in his will.
Now stop there.
Where shall we die?
And then see it.
Where shall we die? Oh me, what fray was here? Yet tell me not.
Okay, so that bit there, you know, don't tell me about it. You know, everybody's always fighting all the time. So you're sort of saying, subtext of that is saying, I don't really want to know. You know, I don't want to know. So say that line again. Go.
Yet tell me not. So I've heard it all. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. Keep going with that.
Here's so much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then overruling love, oh loving hate? Oh anything or nothing was first created.
Okay, so stop there. So go back over there. So this is the contradiction. It's the battle between love and hate. It's that whole contradiction. So do more of that. Play more with that. Okay. A ruling love, a loving hate, or you know, it's the frustration of that.
We're going to move up now to the industrial design and technology areas. On the way, I'll point out a couple of our senior boarding houses to you. As we walk along here, you'll see this building to my right on your camera. This is, I spoke about Macintosh boarding house before, and Macintosh day house. We're walking past Macintosh boarding house. I'll just move away from his reversing signal. So I'm walking up now to our industrial design and technology block. Now, obviously, lots of boys interested in industrial design and technology, and we have subjects ranging through right from senior engineering, where boys are preparing to obviously go off and study engineering, right through to our industrial technology skills, which is more of the old metalwork and shop work. Within industrial technology skills, we do have a number of boys that study school-based traineeships and apprenticeships here at Toowoomba Grammar School, and we welcome that. We partner with local businesses to set those boys up with their traineeships and apprenticeships, and we also work closely with our local TAFE to provide a range of courses that are available to the boys, and that's all done through our careers office. Come upstairs. You'll see behind me here a range of jobs that the Industrial Design and Technology team have put out for us at the moment, which is fantastic. You might be asking the question, well, what are the boys doing in the online environment with their industrial design and technology subjects? Well, they can do the design phase at the moment. So lots of them working on portfolios of work. They're doing their safety courses. I'll just wait until the bell finishes. They're doing their safety courses. So when they come back, they can start the making process of their design jobs. So we've got plenty of 3D printers here that print jobs, 3D scanners. So that enables the boys to scan objects and print them out. We've got laser cut jobs where boys can design things completely online on computer aided design technology and using computer aided design technology and software. That's then laser cut and assembled by the boys. You'll see jobs like this. I spoke about industrial technology skills before, so it's one of our senior subjects. And this is more of a traditional shop B for all the dads out there that did shop A and shop B, more of a traditional metalwork project. And the difference nowadays is that with the metalwork and woodwork, they're upgrading to more modern materials, things like sliders. We've got a range of arc and TIG welders here that the boys learn how to use through their industrial technology skills courses. We also do engineering and robotics in year 9 and 10. So these jobs are just the beginning. We've got our hydraulic example of a crane here, and the boys need to design the arm for the crane. Workshop skills in the younger year levels, and you saw before on screen some examples of fans and different jobs that are designed by the boys in computer aided design and then produced when they come into the workshops. I will point out this job over here. So when I talk about the boys working on portfolios, here's an example of a senior engineering portfolio. It's a bridge design portfolio. And what the boys have to do is they have to come up with a design of a bridge, and then they use mathematics and their engineering skills to work out how much force will be able to be put through that bridge. So they do the full design of their project. They predict the forces that will be able to go through their bridge when they make it, and then we put it up on the stress testing jig here. And the boys set about adding more and more force to their bridges until it eventually breaks. Really cool project. And what they can do then is work out how close their prediction for the amount of force that will be able to be absorbed by the bridge, and compare their prediction to the final product on this stress testing jig. So really cool projects that we find the boys love. They're in here before school, at lunch times, and sometimes on weekends, working on their projects with the staff, which is really exciting. We're going to move up and head across towards some of our sporting facilities. So more 3D printers and laser cutters down here. More of our staff working with the boys. So again, a couple of more of our ovals looking wonderful at the moment. Usually we'd see PE classes out here during the day. Usually we'd see boys playing sport of an afternoon and of a weekend on our beautifully manicured ovals. They are looking excellent at the moment, but unfortunately that's because there's no use. And we would very much prefer to see the boys here using the ovals. As we cross these ovals, we're just going to jump into a golf buggy. As we're driving along, you'll see St. Vincent's Hospital in the background. Just in relation to St. Vincent's, it is nice and convenient. We do have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week health centre here on campus, and that's staffed by registered nurses all day, every day during term time. For boarding families, if the boys have got appointments or anything like that they've got to keep, orthodontic appointments, physiotherapist appointments, doctor's appointments, they're booked through the health centre nurses and managed by the boarding staff here at Toowoomba Grammar School. It is handy though to have St. Vincent's Hospital so close by, and dare I say it, very handy in rugby season to have an X-ray clinic so close by as well. I know I shouldn't say that in front of all the mothers. We're just walking into our sports centre here. Hello, Mr. Fryer, how are you? We're just going to have a look at the lesson that's going on in the background here.
James, good job. Keep it wide. Push it as wide as you can. All right, switch. Bailey, you're up. What have we got? Crossover. Drop your hips down. Your knees out. That's it, guys. So push, under, between behind, push, under, between behind. Keep going. Max reps for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Early. All right, so as you would have seen him there, and we might just get Cabe Ciccolini in the background. He's teaching boys some basketball at the moment. He's got them live online and doing some drills with them. Cabe, as you can see in the background, is a basketball specialist coach, and he's also our director of basketball and our first five coach. So very talented, works with a number of teams throughout Toowoomba, not just at Toowoomba Grammar School, and he's using our facilities here to continue teaching the boys in the online environment at the moment. We're going to wander upstairs and have a look at a PE class right now. So mums and dads, our head of PE, Mr. Andrew Budnick, teaching the boys at the moment. So he's got boys online with him, and that's what they'll be seeing on their screens. Just while we're getting some footage of the boys, the difference between health and physical education and co-curricular sport is very much that health and physical education is a subject that the boys study at school. It's compulsory from years 7 to 10, and then it's an elective in senior in year 11 and 12. What we're going to do is, in a moment, is we're going to walk along the top of the sports centre here, and we'll head downstairs and have a look at another facility. Thanks, Mr. Budnick. Yep. As you can see, mums and dads, really fortunate to have some wonderful facilities here at Toowoomba Grammar School, from between our ovals to wonderful big gym spaces like this. And we're going to take you downstairs. We're going to take you downstairs and show you a couple more. So you can see one of our cricketers in the background here with one of our coaches, just doing some work on the ball machines. So this facility here is obviously a range of indoor cricket nets, but the space can also be used for things like futsal for our football players. I do have our Director of Sports Activities here with me, Mr. Stephen Fryer, who's available for comment. And Mr. Fryer, just while I've got you, tell us a little bit about the range of different activities that we do offer here at Toowoomba Grammar School.
Yeah, at Toowoomba Grammar School, we tend to have a very broad range of sport and activities. So not just the GPS sports through the calendar of activities that we currently do, term activities, both term 1, 2, 3 and 4, but we also offer a variety of cultural and lifestyle activities for students. So that range from chess activities right through to international clubs, to drama clubs, to a large variety of them. I think there's something like 20 on offer for a lot of our students to choose from. So there's a massive diverse range of activities and sports that all students can engage in this, to whatever level or ability they wish to participate in.
Steve, tell us, how many boys overall roughly would be involved in sport in any one season?
Yeah, pretty much all students will have an involvement in sport across the whole year at some stage. So students are encouraged to probably participate in at least one sport and activity over the year. And we have a very high percentage of all our students in senior school and also in the junior school from year 5 to year 12 that participate in some form of sport and activity.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit, what are our biggest sports in terms of participation?
Yeah, we have a number of sports that have big participation numbers. Our cricketers in term 1, we tend to get about 500 to 550 odd cricketers. Term 2, football is our biggest sport with about 500 students participating as well. And rugby obviously is another big sport in term 3 that has about 500 to 550 odd students per year that participate. That ranges from, like in cricket, in term 1, they have approximately about 32 cricket teams across all our across years 5 to year 12, and those big numbers provide a lot of opportunity for both participation-based sport and also development opportunities for boys who really looking to develop their skills to become better, stronger, faster.
And our football, our senior football coaches are quite proud of the fact that they're quickly catching up in terms of participation numbers to rugby.
Yeah, well, football and rugby, given they're in term 2 for football and term 2 for rugby, both sports are hugely popular. We have a lot of boys that play both football and rugby at the same time.
Excellent. Sounds good. And what we might do now, Steve, is we might wander out and have a bit of a look at our Aquatic Center. So we'll move out there now.
Fantastic.
Steve, tell us a little bit about this facility, what it is and who uses it.
Yeah, this facility is what we call our Aquatic Center. It's an unbelievable facility, and given our weather climate in Toowoomba, it tends to get a little chilly in the winter months, but we can have swimming squads here training all throughout the year, and they train nearly every week of the whole year. So we have both a Learn to Swim program and a pool situated just behind us here. The Learn to Swim program is open to our whole community in the Darling Downs region. So lots of mothers and young kids come into the program and look to develop their skills and their young children along the top. The pool, the bigger pool behind us is our 25-metre pool. It's got 9 lanes. It's a huge pool, and within that we also have a swim squad that train throughout the year. We have a head swim coach through the Toowoomba Swim Club that compete at club levels and also around in state championship levels as well. So we have athletes, not just Toowoomba Grammar athletes here, but we also have a number of female and external swimmers from around the Darling Downs region that participate in our swim program here and basically come to access, 1, our facility, and 2, our coaching resources that we have here as well. Our students in our PE classes also use the pool through a number of terms, whether it be a swimming program or a water polo program that we have in both physical education classes from prep class right through to year 12s.
Excellent. And Steve, mums and dads might be able to see up here that we've got a weights room, a workout area. Tell us a little bit about, we've got 2 of those here at the school. Tell us a little bit about how they function.
Yep, we employ a number of strength and conditioning coaches that not just work with some of our high performance activities and our rugby teams, our first squads, but we also employ strength conditioning coaches that look to provide opportunities for boys every afternoon and every morning in the school. So the weights room we can see behind us is a smaller weights room. So all our boarders have opportunity to that weights room every single day and have access to that. And we have another weights room just situated behind us there in our old gym, where a lot of our first team squads do their physical performance for their individual skills in their sports.
Excellent. And whilst we're on a senior school tour, I thought it'd probably be important to mention that the boys in our junior school enjoy this facility as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but boys in the junior school come up and do a learn to swim program as part of their PE program.
Absolutely. So they integrate into our learn to swim program as well. So they run a learn to swim program from our prep students right through to our Year 6 students, and within that PE program they're able to not just access it in summer times in term 1 and term 4 when it's hotter, but they tend to run a lot of swimming programs throughout the year here. So they get multiple times and multiple opportunities through their junior schooling to be in the pool, learn some skills, both from a safety perspective and also from a swimming school opportunities as well.
Fantastic. And Steve, highlight of the year so far for you, would it be the Get Active program that we got up and going online?
The Get Active program is, we've been confronted with a lot of challenges in the last few weeks, like everyone else in every other industry. So education being no different. You've seen a lot of innovative in terms of Caves basketball program, the way they've created that. So our Get Active program is an opportunity for students on a Tuesday and a Thursday afternoon to choose from a variety of different activities, where a lot of our head coaches can actually run live sessions for any student from years 5 to 12, and they can do that from the comforts of their home. Very similar to what you saw with Cave running the basketball on the one today, but we've got that in athletics and basketball and football and the likes as well. So not just those, but also live physical activities where our strength conditioners are coming in and running body weight programs. We had a speed program on last week, and we also had a calisthenics program for students as well. So lots of different variety for them to choose from.
We might switch the microphone back over and we'll keep going with the tour. Thanks very much for your time, Steve. All right. Mums and dads, we are walking up between our sports centres here. One of the things that we didn't mention upstairs in PE is that our PE staff have got one of a really fantastic program whereby our boys involved in PE are doing practical activities and completing practical challenges. One of those at the moment for the boys in 7, 8, 9 and 10 in their classes, they've got a Strava challenge going where they're trying to run a lap around Australia with all of the data that they're logging on their Strava profiles. So things like smart wearables, their phones, speak to the app, and the PE staff see and collate all those numbers live. So it's fantastic to see. And some of the footage actually has been on our Facebook page. So I'd commend that to you if you're interested. We're going to keep moving. We're walking up between our new sports centre and the previous sports centre that we have, called the Trenery Gymnasium. Very fortunate to have lots of good facilities here across our campus at Toowoomba Grammar School. I'll now refer back to Cynthia's question earlier today about support of the Year 7 boys as they come into the school. Year 7 we very much approach as a transition year for our day boys and for our boarders. And so the way we do that is the boys have a common class area that they use for all their general teaching and learning. So, for example, a Year 7 boy, he would have the same room for maths and English and geography and history and his social sciences. Whereas the senior boys, as they get into Year 8, they move more around to different classrooms. Obviously, the Year 7 boys still go to our specialist teaching areas, places like our art and drama, our design and technology and science blocks, but they are based here in and around what we call our Hugh Rose block. And you'll see all of the Year 7 lockers here in this area. And there's a reason for that. We keep all of our Year 7s here so that we can help them. And our Year 7 coordinator is based in this area with his office so that boys can go to him during the day for assistance should they need any assistance. So really, really well thought out in terms of structure. We don't want our little year 7s moving around too much, but they get familiar with the campus as the year goes on, and then they head off there into our big wide campus, off to the different rooms and things like that. And it's really exciting for the boys when they get opportunities to move out amongst the older boys. But certainly when they start, they appreciate that bit of extra safety that comes with a home room. We're going to wander down to one of our other general learning areas now. So as we move in to our classroom here, we'll see a couple of staff. We'll head down. Mr. Luke Wall, one of our history teachers and our head of teaching and learning, has got some boys online down here on the screen. You can see he's got his headphones in and he's talking to those boys. I don't want to interrupt his lesson too much. But as he's working with the boys, he's talking to them live. So Luke's currently teaching a QCE lesson to Year 12 boys. And a lot of what he is doing at the moment is study skills and exam preparation skills. So managing stress as well in that. One of the great challenges this year that we're experiencing is, of course, with our current COVID-19 restrictions, that boys preparing for their senior assessments have to do it remotely. And we're managing that as best we can. And part of that is through programs like our QCE skills preparation program. Thanks very much, Luke. As we come down here, I'm going to pick on our head of mathematics and one of our senior philosophy and reason teachers, Mr. Greg Bland. I am going to give Mr. Bland a headphone so that you'll be able to hear him as we're speaking. Greg, my question for you is, how do you think the current online learning environment, that in a way that we've been forced into, is going to influence our teaching moving forward? And I'll just give you this, Greg, to pop in your right ear there.
It's a good question, and I think what it's forced teachers to do is to evaluate their practice, obviously, evaluate their pedagogy. We've seen a big move, obviously, into OneNote over the last couple of years. And also just obviously more recently this year and with the current circumstances. That's got a few benefits for students in terms of accountability and in terms also of their study skills and exam preparation and things like that. So they've basically got records up online of everything that their teachers have done in class. Depending on what class it is, there's also, for example, little online graphing programs that teachers can use to sort of illustrate the work in a dynamic way. So it's not just sort of static up on the whiteboard work anymore necessarily. It's sort of dynamic and hopefully a little bit more interesting as well.
And it's live. And Greg, I know that on Saturday, for example, you ran a senior mathematics tutorial. What program did you use to connect with the boys and run that tutorial?
Yeah, that's right. So that actually worked really well. We've done a few of those. Those are, again, done through Microsoft Teams. So in a combination of Teams and OneNote, we'll have, for example, the capacity for any number of teachers to be online at the one time. And so we can have, for example, 3 of the senior maths teachers actually participating in that online forum. The boys will basically indicate in the chat window that they have a question. If they've got a question, we go to them. They take turns to ask their question. Any one of the teachers or indeed any of the other students can sort of chime in with an answer to that. Mm-hmm. So that actually works out really well. And again, we can sort of illustrate illustrate what's going on in terms of the answers, or we can get students to share their screen, et cetera, in that process.
Excellent. And when you're answering the boys' questions and you're annotating your notes like you've got on screen at the moment, is that something that the boys see live?
Yeah, everything is live. So so they can see it, depending on how well it's synchronized. Obviously, there's a couple of, if there's issues externally with internet connections and syncing problems with OneNote. We've had a couple of them, but it hasn't been too bad. More recently, it's been fairly responsive. So yeah, while they're online, they can see what's happening on the screen. We can see sometimes what's happening on their screen if we allow that to take place as well. So it's definitely a two-way street as well.
Fantastic. And your other subject area, philosophy and reason, how many boys involved in learning philosophy and reason in senior?
Yeah, so there's I've got a nice class of 15 in year 12.
Excellent.
We've got about 22, 23 in year 11. So it's again a nice group of students there. That has its own challenges, obviously, in terms of an online environment. If you think of the way that philosophy is traditionally taught in terms of the Socratic method and the dialogues, for example, of Plato, doesn't really lend itself particularly well to Microsoft Teams. I can't really see Plato getting on Microsoft Teams and conducting his lessons that way, but we certainly do try our best.
No, and I know the boys, though, as a relatively new subject, the boys really enjoy it, though, especially in that classroom environment when you're facilitating those discussions.
That's right, and it is really a subject that lends itself, obviously, to personal interaction and discussion and debate. And we still can facilitate a little bit of that online. We've got the chat window, for example. We can get on Moodle. We've got the student forum still, which I'll set sort of little work every week to do on there. They'll jump on a Moodle, and there'll be like a debate question every week that the boys are encouraged to contribute to. So there's still ways of keeping that kind of interaction alive, even though it's not, ideally face-to-face at the moment.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, thanks very much for your time, Mr. Bland. I really appreciate it. Have a good afternoon. Mums and dads, we're going to keep moving. Just before we do, you might be thinking about the structure of this classroom. And as I indicated earlier, when we were up in one of our other teaching areas, it's really meant to reflect a more modern workspace that the boys can use. So we can get the boys to write on these desks, whiteboard markers, lots of whiteboards on the room. Mr. Luke Rule down the end, sitting in our campfire setup where we could have a classroom of boys sitting around that campfire setup, being instructed, facing the teacher, and then breaking out into these wonderful small cubicle areas where they can do small group work or larger group work if they need to. And again, with our smart screens and our touchscreen computers. So all the boys are provided with a touchscreen computer when they start here, a tablet computer when they start here. So they've got all the programs already loaded on that computer. And as teachers, we don't have to worry about whether boys have or do not have software on their computers. We know that they all do, and we know that it all operates wonderfully. We're going to keep moving. Just wandering through the school. We're going to stop at one more venue, and what I might do is I might just stop here as we're walking along to that venue. So we're going to have one more venue, and then that's our Bane's Music Centre. Before I do go in there, roughly 250 boys involved in music tuition at the school. That's from prep right through to year 12. But in the senior school, the number we're really proud of, 270 boys involved in one of our 16 ensembles. So think of that number, 270 boys. They practice before school, lunchtime, after school, weekends. Those ensembles are things like orchestras, right through to vocal a cappella groups, right through to our big bands and our rock bands, and the boys love it. Lately, online, they've been doing online lunchtime shows where boys can jump in and listen to, for example, our big band play a number that they've been practicing with each other from all corners of the state. So really exciting stuff. We're going to wander in and we'll have a look to see if there's any music lessons going and what our music teachers are doing in this online learning space. So it looks like we've got a music lesson going on in the background here. We're going to have a look at it. I can hear some sound. So if you don't hear from me for a while, it's because we're going to go in and have a bit of a look at what's being done. I can see Mrs. Natalie Otto our Director of Performance, online with some of the boys at the moment.
Well, it's just a mix of groups together to make really good songs.
And what do you like about the soundtrack program?
That you can record your own song, your own beat, and choose from like a big library of pre-recorded songs to put together and make them song.
Thanks, Mimi. You've done a really good job. So I'm going to play your work for the class now. So I'm going to show your work. This is all of your loops that you've chosen. So I'll press play. Are you ready, Finn?
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to move just back out here so that we don't interrupt the lesson any further, but you'll see, and you can see how some of the wonderful work that our teachers have been doing has translated to online work. So fantastic examples there of some of our student work, and that was from some of our younger boys as well. Mums and dads, we'll end the tour in a moment. It's been a pleasure having you online. I hope that you've been able to follow our tour throughout. A reminder that if you do have any questions, I will pause in a moment to see if any questions come through live, but feel free to throw them into the chat. We will respond. And if you'd like a phone call, we're happy to give you a phone call after this tour, just to answer any further questions that you might have about Toowoomba Grammar School. Typically on these tours, they're really difficult to do online. Typically, I love a tour because I get the opportunity to interact and meet some of our families that will be coming to Toowoomba Grammar School in the future. And we don't have that opportunity, unfortunately, today. However, if we've got any live tours later in the year here on campus, we would love to see you here coming for a tour, and I'd really enjoy the opportunity to meet you. Boys, normally on tours, we get lots of questions from boys as they're moving around the school and they see things that interest themselves and they work out what they want to do when they come to Toowoomba Grammar School. And as I said, I really encourage you to come and check us out in real life when we can welcome you back on campus to see all the wonderful programs that we run here at Toowoomba Grammar School.